see? I'll be turning around a little. She said turn around so she could look at me, she said. She's flirting with me a little bit. So listen. I don't know what you've been up to. I've had a quiet week.
We've been waiting on you.
Kind of low-key out of the spotlight. On Saturday of last week, I announced that I'd be running for the presidency of the United States. And it was a wonderful occasion. We had 17,000 people show up at our announcement in front of the old state capitol in Springfield, Illinois, the site where, we got some folks from Springfield, Illinois. So we were in front of the old state capitol where Abraham Lincoln delivered his famous speech where he said, "A house divided against itself cannot stand." It was 15 degrees at the time that my speech went out, and yet everybody, despite the weather, despite being bundled up, felt an electricity in the air. And what was remarkable about it was that people had come from far and wide, not just to hear me, but because they had a sense that the country is in the process of turning the page, that we want to move in a new direction for this country. And there's a new generation of leaders that are going to rise up to help meet the challenges of the future. So it was wonderfully inspiring. And then we went on a tour of Iowa, early caucus state like Nevada, and so we went to Cedar Rapids, and there were 2,500 people there. And then we went to Waterloo, and there were 2,000 people in Waterloo. Then we went to Ames, Iowa, and there were 7,000 people there. And during this entire trip, there were crowds coming out that nobody had ever seen before. And I was with my family. My wife went, and my two daughters, Malia, who's 8, and Sasha, who's 5. And we brought their cousins, my nephew and niece, so that they had somebody to hang out with, and then my mother-in-law, godparents, had the whole contingent. And my daughters, they seemed to be having fun. They were playing with their dolls, and they were drawing, and they were reading, and then their cousins were teaching them these Game Boys that I don't really understand, but they were into it. And at one point, we were on the van, and I turned to my older daughter, Malia, and I said, "Are you guys having fun?" And they said, "Yeah, Daddy, this is great. We're having a wonderful time." And then she went back to drawing, and then after a second, she turned back and she said, "What are we doing here again?" What are we doing here again? And the question is apt. The question is appropriate for today. What are we doing here? Because the truth is that for a lot of years now, people have felt a fundamental cynicism about politics. I remember when I first ran for the state senate, I had been a community organizer working with a group of churches that set up job training programs for the unemployed and after-school programs for youth who were starting to drift. And then I went and after law school practice as a civil rights attorney and a law professor, finally a seat in the state senate district where I lived opened up. And some people who knew my activism and the work I had done asked me if I'd be interested in running it. And I remember thinking about whether I should do this, and I did what every wise man does when confronted with a difficult decision like this. I prayed on it, and I asked my wife. And gentlemen, I'm just giving you a tip. And after consulting these two higher powers, I did what every first-time candidate does. I'm sure Reuben went through it. Kendrick Bates, Shelley, everybody went through it. When you first run for office, you basically talk to anybody who will listen to you. And so I go to beauty shops and barber shops and bake sales and PTA meetings, and if there were two guys standing on a corner, I'd pull up and I'd start handing them literature. And everywhere I went, I'd always get the same two questions. First question, where did you get this funny name Barack Obama? Well, people would mispronounce it. They'd call me Alabama, or they'd call me Bill Mama. And I'd have to to explain, you like that, huh? You think that's funny. I'd have to explain it was Obama. And then my father was from Kenya, from Africa, and then my mother was from Kansas, where I got my accent from. But the second question bears on today, why are we here? Because people would say, you seem like a nice young man. You got a wonderful family, fancy law degree, teach at a prestigious institution, practicing important legal work. Why would you want to go into something dirty and nasty like politics? Why would you want to go into politics? And the question is understandable because we feel when we look at the newspapers and we read what's going on and we watch television as if politics has become a business instead of a mission. And that power is always trumping principle. And especially in Washington, you get a sense that there's a lot of rhetoric but not a lot of follow-through. And that it's a closed insider's game. And so people eventually they feel discouraged. And maybe every 2 years or 4 years they hold their noses and they vote for what they consider to be the lesser of two evils. But they don't really have confidence that government is going to make a meaningful difference in their lives. At most, they hope that it doesn't go